The word love can get very distracting and it can suggest a lot of things to a lot of different people. So let's get clear on what exactly love is. Specifically, let us attempt to love like God loves. Let us understand, how does God love? What is God's love like? And what is human love, perhaps, if we want to make a distinction in that sense. And I'll come right out of the gate with stating and claiming and declaring that there is only Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Welcome. Good day. Good night. Good morning, wherever you are. Let's start with a moment of presence, simple, naked, pure presence. Naked as in no filter, no thought even per se. Just naked presence, no defense mechanism. It's just you and your webcam anyway. What could go wrong? No armor. Naked, trusting presence. Let everybody on the call see your soul energetically. No defense mechanisms. Naked, bare presence. Awareness. Just being. And notice the ease and joy inherent in that. Naturally included in naked presence is the joy of being. The ease, that soothing stream of lucidity, that nectar of clarity, the presence of awareness, undefended, naked, bare, vulnerable, open like the sky. Just stay open like the sky. Present and open like the sky. No matter what's going on the canvas of your mindscape, of your dreamscape, of your present hallucination of reality, your present interpretation of the world, of yourself, regardless of what arises, stay open, naked, and opinionless, just as the sky. Become unopinionated towards even your own thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. Let them arise like birds flying through wide open sky. And birds don't leave a flight path in the sky. Just as thoughts and emotions don't leave any trace in present, naked awareness, open innocence, lucid clarity, that which exists only ever now in this moment, which is the only place and time that exists. So be traceless and flightless, flight pathless, stainless, like the sky. You can draw your name in the sky, but it won't remain. Most people are like cement. They etch their name into the cement and it stays there forever. They have a thought or emotion and they reify it. They give it so much meaning that it turns into cement, like the walk of fame. They're forever traumatized, rigid. This is who I am. This is the truth. They are wrong. This is why I feel this way. And then those who gear themselves towards personal development and self-help books, their nature becomes more like that of sand, and they can still write their emotions and their meanings and their opinions into the bedrock of their personality, the substrate of their personality, and it will last for a while, but the ocean will gradually diminish the sharpness of the shape of their name in the sand until it is again, after some time, equalized with the rest of the landscape. But the enlightened being lives like the sky. The moment an emotion arises, there is no trace of it even there in that moment. As soon as something arises, it simultaneously dissolves. There is no trace because there is no one holding on to what appeared. There's no sense of self. There's no idea about self. There's no rigid, righteous, victim-based notion of me that now has to give meaning to what just appeared, and then give meaning to what arises next, and then be afraid and be guarded against what could possibly arise next, and then feel offended and victimized by what arose a minute ago. In the enlightened state, which is your state naturally, if you don't clutter it up, if you stay simply naked like the sky, your natural state is like that. It is traceless, it is stainless, it is ineffable. It cannot be touched, it cannot be grasped, it cannot be groped, it cannot be attached to. It is open, free, and stainless like the sky. And then thoughts and emotions and words and beliefs and ideas, they leave no trace whatsoever. So move from ice to water to steam, or from concrete to sand to sky-like. If you don't make anything into anything, nothing is made of it. If you don't make a problem out of it, there is no problem. This naked presence is a great foundation for our talk on what the heck is even love. Because if you cannot stay with naked presence for some measure of time, with some degree of purity, of attentiveness, then you should probably practice that first before you attempt to desire to be an embodiment of God's love. Because it does require you to be able to be nakedly present to what is without giving meaning to the thoughts and the situations that arise. If you can stay meaningless, not despondent, not depressed, not hopeless, because those are still giving meaning to things. Meaninglessness, oh, why? What's the meaning of all this? There's no meaning in anything. You're still giving it meaning. True meaninglessness is freedom. True meaninglessness allows for you to be a vessel of love and wisdom. You need to be able to live more and more with life as it actually is, which is not what you think it is, which is not what you say it is, which is not what you interpret it to be, which is not what you believe it is. The adept lives more and more as it is. Suchness is what Buddha called it, the state of suchness. And everyone can practice naked presence. It is quite simple. You simply bring your mind, your mindfulness, your attentiveness to the present moment, and you observe with as little guarding of yourself or of your thoughts as possible. You simply neutrally observe your present appearances, what arises. And you begin to observe that if you don't latch onto what arises, if you don't follow after your next thought and your next thought and your next thought, you just let them arise as if they are objects appearing in the sky, clouds appearing in the sky. If you stay like that, free and empty and traceless, then they are just birds flying through the sky. They don't leave a trace. They don't leave a flight path. It is you who must insert your ideas about what that reality means before you can distort yourself. Your natural state, your natural canvas is already free and pure and innocent like that. It's already made of love, as we'll discuss in a little bit. So thank you for this present welcome meditation. It's good to see you all. And let's get into it. I realize sometimes I have the thought, hey, I don't think I talk about love enough, specifically about love. As perhaps compared to some other teachers or texts out there that seem to emphasize love quite a bit. And for me, and there's a clue in this, for me it's so implicit, it's so inherent in self-realization that it's almost a moot point to talk about love. It's almost irrelevant, even though I understand it has great relevance for where humanity is at this time and what they need the most of. They need most of that vibration, of that quality, of that density, fourth density, if you will, if you're familiar with the densities, that fourth density frequency of love, of understanding, of compassion. So it is very important and it is very relevant, but I don't speak about love too often. I don't mention the term too much, which I think is okay because it's implicit in the rest of my work and it is a natural result of following the path. And sometimes the word love can get very distracting and it can suggest a lot of things to a lot of different people. But we are here and I am dedicating an entire session to this. So let's get clear on what exactly love is, at least from my view, from my experience. Specifically, let us attempt to love like God loves. Let us understand, how does God love? What is God's love like? And what is human love, perhaps, if we want to make a distinction in that sense? And I'll come right out of the gate with stating and claiming and declaring that there is only one love. If we're actually talking about love, then we can keep it very clear and simple. And all there is God's nature, God's love. Human love isn't a real thing. It's an idea, it's a construct. It doesn't mean that a consciousness which has identified itself with being a human being and therefore thinks I am a human being, which is also a construct. There's no proof for that in naked present experiencing. It's a complete assumption that I am a human being. You need to believe that to feel it that way. There's no evidence for it. The trees don't agree. The sky doesn't agree. The earth doesn't agree. God doesn't agree. Even your own mind, when in its restful state, doesn't agree. You make this stuff up all the way. I am a human being. What even is a human being? Where does it start? Where does it end? What is it made of? Is it made of cells? Is it made of collective unconscious programming? Is it made of a combination of these? Is it different for each person? Are we all the same exact human being? What is being a human being? So you see, everything in reality is up for grabs. It's up for whatever you want it to be. You interpret experience. You interpret vibration all the time through the senses and the mind. And as such, you form this hallucinative picture of what reality is, and you think it is real, typically. Unless you're awake or enlightened, as they say. Then you can see through that matrix. So being a human being, first of all, is a completely optional belief system. It's just as optional as believing in Jesus Christ or the Buddha or the pagans, Odin. All of these things are optional constructs attributed to God, right? Religiously. But a human being is just of that order. It's also a belief system. It's a complete interpretation. So there's no proof in any of my cells. None of my cells agree that I'm a human being. It is a complete story that I impose upon my reality. I project it onto myself. I claim this to myself and others. My cells don't agree. Your cells don't agree. So you're not a human being unless you want to be, unless you think you are. Then you will experience that in that way. But mechanically speaking, fundamentally speaking, none of you are a human being because it doesn't even exist. Nobody's defined what that is. There's no official definition of what a human being is. Maybe the dictionary has one, but it will be very, very flawed. It'll be very, very faulty. It'll be very, very limited. So we are not human beings unless we want to believe that, and then we'll create that experience, that illusion, that sense. Anything you have a belief about, you will start to have a feeling of. Feeling always follows belief or perspective. So if you have an interpretation on something, a belief, a construct, then that will come with a sense, a feeling, an intuitive psychic sense of it. So if you think you are a human being, you will kind of feel like you are a human being. And then that's what gives it that sense of reality, and that's why it's an illusion. You've given reality the sense of reality. So remember, a sense of self, for instance, follows an idea of self. So however you feel about yourself, whatever you sense that you are, whatever your sense of self feels like, is indicative, is made up of, is subservient to whatever your idea of self is, your perception of self, your concept of self, your self-concept. So being a human being is a complete optional self-concept. There is no evidence for it anywhere in your direct experience. It needs assumption to be believed. And then you will feel that you are. And then you will feel like a victim, because if I'm a human being, and that's defined somehow as this clump of meat, then I am not everything else, and therefore I am vulnerable. All of these are assumptions. So since the human being doesn't exist, human love also does not actually exist. Now, I'm not denying the following, which is what does exist is love, God's love, and what can happen, and often does, is that a consciousness extension of God, if we view God as an infinite tablecloth, or you could also picture it as an ocean, but let's say a tablecloth. If you were to lift up, pinch the tablecloth at one point, and you were to lift it up, it creates kind of like a little hill, a mountain shape. And then you can pick up the tablecloth over here and create a second mountain shape. Now you kind of have a valley between them, and so on and so forth. If we picture these peaks as extensions, expressions of God's curiosity, and we could say that you, your I amness, your consciousness, that which hears my voice right now, that which is interested in this talk, I'm assuming, is an extension out of God. It is a curious spark of the Creator wanting to explore itself, express itself, know itself in a unique pathway, in a unique way. That's what you are, as a individuated spark. You are also God. Ultimately, you're not even that individual. Your nature is the whole tablecloth. But you are expressing and extending yourself as God through sort of a vocal point, an individuated, expressive focal point, a spark of the Creator of source. That I can agree to, that that's what you are, up to a certain level. I am a human being needs too many constructs, too many assumptions, too many faulty definitions that are different for everyone. So I can't agree with that. It's completely your make-believe. But I can agree that you are God in expressive form, that you are God expressing itself, curious about itself, at the edge of its seat about itself, distorted into an individuated sort of point of view of all that is. I can agree with that. And I hope you do too. Now, God's love is the only love there is. Okay, there is no other love. There is no love that is other than that. You as a consciousness who may have ideas about I am a human being, that might be a concept that you carry, that's fine. But it's not what you actually are. It's just a concept that you carry, that you believe in. That's fine, you can do that. It still doesn't make it real. It's still a concept. So you as a consciousness who may or may not believe they are a human being to some degree, are, as an extension of God, able to experience the nature, if you will, the frequency, the core frequency of this canvas, of this tablecloth, of this ocean, of this naked bare presence of universal intelligent energy. So what is love? Technically speaking, it is this universal intelligent energy that is equally present in every hallucination, in every perception, in every manifestation, in every experience. It is the bedrock, it's the totality, it's the substrate, it's the substratum of all that is without exception, including hatred and horror, including beautiful Garden of Eden, picturesque kind of scenery and lovely relationships and romantic moments. All of these equally are made of the same fabric, the intelligent, infinite energy of Source, the kinetic, expressive aspect of the One. God and love are equal, synonyms. The only thing beyond love, effectively, is free will, and beyond that, absolute reality itself. Other than that, love is the highest. Love is all present, omnipresent. It is, again, literally what everything is made of. It is the water inside the wave, inside the choppy waters, inside the eddies and the currents, inside of the giant waves, inside of the calm waters, inside of the deep ocean currents at the bottom of the ocean floor. It's the water in all of these expressions. It's the water in the raindrops and the dew. It's the water in the glacier ice. It's the water in the river making its way back to the ocean. In the illusion of the cycle of unity, expressing itself and returning to itself, expressing itself as rain, as clouds, as glacier ice, as melting water, as river, and then finally back as ocean. But even ocean is an illusion. Even the return to God is an illusion. For the water that's in the ocean of God is the same water that's in the journey of the individual droplet that turns into ice on the wall of the glacier. There is no distinction from the perspective of love. It is truly non-dual. It is truly already here. So even the journey of you as a seemingly human being, this little tiny little journeyer of the Creator, making its way back into God awareness. Yes, there is some relevance to that. Yes, that is your experience. But mechanistically, structurally, realistically speaking, that's an illusion too. Your journey to return to the Creator, to God's love, to that non-duality, that journey back into that is an illusion. I'm not saying it's wrong. It is part of this expression, and it's beautiful, and it is the road that we seem to be on. But it is, in essence, an illusion. Why? Because is the water in the droplet far removed from the ocean, far inland, in the mountains? Is that little droplet that lands on the ice of the glacier and turns into ice, part of the glacier, seemingly far removed from the ocean, the main body of water, where the rain came from in the first place, where the glacier ice came from in the first place? Is the water in that glacier ice, in that droplet, any less water than the water of the ocean? So you see, the ocean is already complete wherever it exists, in whatever form it exists. Whether it's the droplet, as the river, or as the, oh my God, it's God's ocean. It's the wholeness of it. The wholeness of it exists in every single particle, no matter how far removed from its original source. That means that what you think you're headed towards is somehow already existent within you. It's already intrinsic. This perfection, this completion, this total love, God's nature is already within you. The illusion is your journey. And then there's even worse delusions, which are the delusions of the human mind. But even your journey as a spiritual being is still an illusion. It's a positive one, it's a beautiful one, but it is technically an illusion. And you can see through this illusion and find the love already present, meaning you don't have to wait until your individual river reaches the ocean of God. You can recognize God's water inside of your individual river, as you are right now. And naked presence is one very direct path to this. To be nakedly aware and to learn to insert less and less thoughts and ideas and concepts into the equation of the now. To project less and less ideas onto it. Hence the word naked, bare, open, sky-like, present awareness. Just knowing. It's pure, clear knowing. It's knowing without any additions, without any bells or whistles, without any assumptions. Pure, empty, clear, awake knowing. That is akin to the river taking its attention away from all this journeying that it's doing and all these boulders it needs to cross and all these bends it needs to go through. And noticing for a second, it would be as if the river pauses, even if it continues to flow. But it pauses its attention and it recognizes for a moment that its very nature is ocean water. Its very nature is water. That's what happens when you pause your mind, this constant projector, this constant, I know what this is, I know what this means, I know what this is made of, this means that. And to pause that, to become humble and grateful for source. And in that, peace and ease. To enjoy the stream of lucidity, of clarity, in the recognition that your nature is already God to its fullest. It's already source, if you prefer that term. I don't mind the word God. I love the word God. But I know a lot of people have a lot of different connotations with that word. But I encourage you to make it beautiful again if it's not for you just yet. Because it's such a short, beautiful, simple little term, G-O-D. It's beautiful, it's powerful, it's strong, it's firm, it's got a good vibration to it. Yes, people have done all kinds of things in the name of it, but fuck them. Let's cleanse the name of God. Let's make it beautiful again. The term God. It's a beautiful word. But you can substitute it with the word source if you wish, with the one, with the absolute. Although I make a distinction between the absolute and God, I see God as the first emergence, the first expression out of the absolute. Absolute is even beyond anything that could ever possibly be expressed or experienced. And God is not. God is the nature of everything that could ever possibly be expressed, known, or experienced. It's the water in all of its expressions. It's the gold in the bracelet, in the watch, in the necklace, in the ring. It's the uniform, essential energy that expresses itself as all these things. It's the electricity in the light bulb. It's the electricity in the heat generator. It's the electricity in your washing machine. It's the substratum. It's that same energy that runs through everything. That is God. It's that creative kinetic aspect of absolute reality. If you were to take all that away, if you were to take away the ocean, if you were to take away all the water, if you were to take away the universal energy that is the basis of all phenomena, if you were to take that away, zap it out of existence, imagine it completely doesn't exist. You may get a sense for absolute reality. Because what remains? It's not like existence stops existing. It's not like source stops being source. God, that primordial intelligent energy that makes up everything, that kinetic aspect of the one, is an emergence, it's an expression of something even deeper. It's not separate from it, it's an expression of it, within it, due to it, made of it. But what is deeper even than that intelligent universal energy which makes everything? Some have called it the void, although not to be confused with the causal body emptiness or the causal body blankness, which a lot of people do confuse that. Just beyond the mind, just beyond the thinking mind, there's like a blankness, an emptiness, a sort of a space that doesn't have any thoughts, that kind of feels like a void initially. That's not the absolute reality. That's still a layer. You're still looking at it from a place of awareness. But what's looking at awareness is the absolute. What's looking at God, what knows God from an even deeper place, that's your clue to absolute infinite reality. That's all a side note. Quite a side note, but it is a side note. So let's return to love then. So only absolute reality and free will, the essence of free will, not just the human thinker, like, oh, I can do this. I want to do this today. I want ice cream. I want tea. I want coffee. Not that. Okay, that's not really that's a very, very tiny expression of free will. It's a consequence of free will. But free will itself is the very first emergence. It is essentially God. Free will plus love is the essence of God. It's that intelligent energy which is at the basis of everything. It's the water in the droplet, in the glacier, in the river, in the ocean, equally so. That intelligent universal base energy is essentially a combination of a formless intelligence which is awake and able to create and choose and know, aka free will, also known as true awareness, which emerges within this infinite potential of absolute reality, this void, this infinite void, where everything is possible, but nothing is manifest. And this formless intelligence awakens inside of this void, becomes aware of its nature, and it begins to now give rise to love. And I'm going to take you through a meta-philosophical way of thinking and seeing of how this occurred and why the result of awareness is love. Imagine this absolute reality. Before any universe was ever created, before any Big Bang ever happened, before time, space, experience were ever created. You could say, therefore, even before God emerged, before this creative capacity of creating things, of knowing things, of becoming things, this creative capacity of kinetic potential of energy, before all that emerged, reality was real, nevertheless. We wouldn't have all this stuff. We wouldn't know that we are, was it not for an underlying source or reality. Source and absolute reality are synonyms. God can be seen as the essence of everything. The essence of a raindrop is water, for instance. But essence and source are two very different words. They're often used in the same vein, but they're not really the same thing. So essence, God could be described as the essence of everything, but absolute reality is the source of everything. Because even an essence needs a source. Essence cannot just exist out of its own essence. It needs to have come from something. Where it came from, that is source. There is a source to anything, then there is an essence to anything, and then there is its individual sort of manifest appearance to that thing. Everything, whether it's an apple or a camera or a thought form or a universe, it's got a manifest expression, it's got a subtle energetic blueprint, then it's got a causal level where it's just a concept in God's mind. Then it's God's essence beneath that. It consists of the essence of awareness or free will and love, which I'll get into in a little bit. So the essence, God is the essence of everything. Then it has a seed thought in the causal level. It conceives of an idea. then this concept, this brilliant, this intelligent idea, filled with energy and potential, begins to express itself energetically, psychically, subtly, metaphysically, which forms the blueprint for the physical manifestation of it. Not every manifestation has a physical component. It doesn't all go that far. Some only have a subtle reality, like your astral forms or your dream forms or your thoughts. But every form that does have a physically manifest form has, by definition, a subtle level, a causal level, an essential level or great causal level, aka God's level. And as with all things, underneath all that is source, which is very unspecific and undefined. But it is what's causing, enabling, making possible the essence of God. The essence of God's intelligent energy makes possible the conception of an idea, of an intention, of a new expression, of a curiosity in the causal level. That causal level then causes the subtle energetic blueprint, the thought forms. It starts to take shape, like the blueprint written down on a piece of paper for a building that's printed, before it is constructed physically and manifest. And then finally, it appears physically or manifest. Not all forms, not all intentions have to have a physical component. Not even all of them have to have a subtle or energetic component. And if it doesn't have a causal component, then it's not an idea in God's mind. Then we're just talking the essence level. Okay, so physical, if you remember my previous talk, physical, subtle, causal, great causal, or also known as essence, or also known as God, or also known as love. And then the final, fifth level is absolute source or reality, whence everything was enabled to begin with. Every item that you see that is physical, my bottle, my hands, your own hair, has a physical, subtle, causal, essential, and source level to it. Every word you utter has got a subtle, well, physical too, because it's the source, the vibrations of your physical voice. But if it was just a mental thought, it wouldn't have that physical component, but the word would have a subtle, causal, essential, and source nature. Now, the source nature's got nothing to do with the manifest thing. If I hold an apple in my hand, source has got nothing to do with that apple specifically. But the apple cannot exist without source, without absolute reality. It's an illusion that completely depends on actual reality. But it itself is a specific idea expressed through energy and form and interpretation. You get the point. Everything ultimately is made of essence, aka God, aka love, which I'll get into. But it's enabled by, it's made possible by an even deeper reality that cannot be explained before any manifestation arose. So that's why I can say that there are two levels of reality, two aspects of reality that are, in a sense, beyond love. Doesn't mean that love suddenly doesn't exist from those levels, but these levels are beyond love ultimately, because love came about. Love is a manifestation. And now I will explain how I view that this occurred. And we'll get into the practicalities of love a little bit more, down to earth with it as well later on. But I want to start with the metaphysical, metaphilosophical overview. So let's have a bit of an origin story assessment of how love emerged. So I've already explained that reality exists timelessly before it became anything. But love actually has a beginning and an end. How did love begin? Picture to the best of your ability this indescribable void, this absolute reality before anything can be said about anything, before there's any consciousness to experience anything. That reality, timeless, prior to any experience. Imagine in this sort of infinite void of infinite potential, but nothing being manifest yet. Not even stars, not even space, not even time. The closest you could get in an imagination would be space. But it's still very deceiving, because absolute infinite reality is not space. Space is still a concept. It's a construct. But as a picture or an analogy of infinite reality, it will do. It's the best we've got in our human terms. Okay, but if you have a sense of actual reality, then go there. If not, then picture infinite space without stars, without celestial bodies, without levels or consciousness, just an infinite space. Now, this space holds the potential for every possible experience or manifestation, but it's got nothing in it just yet. Nothing is activated. There's no kinetic aspect yet. There's only the static, timeless aspect of this one infinite reality. Now, the first thing that emerged as part of this timelessness is awareness. You could say that this infinity became intelligent. It became aware. And herein lies the explanation for why the next step of manifestation is love. Again, not human love. Don't think in these dualistic terms. Love is just a word. Don't care about the word. What is it trying to point to? What is love actually? And that's what we want to get clear in this session. What the heck is even love? Truly. And I need you to be intuitive and imaginative with this, and let go of all your concepts of love as a human mind. All the Disney movies, all the programming, all the broken relationships. Love has got nothing to do with relationships, by the way. Maybe that makes it easier for you. Love has got nothing to do with relationships. Your concept of relationships, anyway. Again, I'll get into this. We'll get more down to earth. But for now, let go of any concept of love as having anything to do with a man and a female, or a man and a man, or a female and a female. It's got nothing to do with the human form. If you eliminate this idea of human form, then what would the word love mean for you? What would it point to? Now we're getting more real with what it actually structurally means. What is love if there are no human beings in the entirety of the universe? There are no human forms anywhere in the universe. There are no relationships anywhere in the universe. Then what is that which we point to with the word love? What is it trying to point to beyond all the human things? And now you're getting closer to God's love already. You can already notice when you're dropping all the duality, the polarities, the human stuff, and you contemplate the true meaning of love, you are taking your consciousness already into a deeper vibration, closer to actual godlike love. May not be quite there yet. And in a sense, it's an infinite journey of attunement to this original love. But you can get a better sense of it because you're clear of some of the filters and associations. And you're pondering purely like a child would. What is actually meant by love? And now we go back to this infinite reality, this infinite void that becomes aware of its own infinite reality. And when you have awareness of oneness, the kinetic result, the aura of that is love. I'll repeat that. When singularity, when singleness, when oneness is aware that it is one only, that all is itself, the emanation of that, the energy that gets produced in that alchemy between absolute potential and the intelligence of awareness, of free will, then the first activation of that infinite potential is the substratum energy of love that we call love. It's not love, it's just a word. But the energy this is the first Big Bang. This is the original metaphysical Big Bang. It's when awareness touched base with its own infinite unity and it became aware of its oneness. What was born out of that fusion was a universal kinetic energy, the first activation of infinite potential. That is an energy that will form the foundation for any illusion, any perception, any expression, any manifestation, which we call love, or God's love. So God essentially is a combination of awareness and that essential beingness of love, that essential energy of love, that essential presence of love. The symbiotic combination of that intelligence, that awareness, that ability to shape, mold, choose, realize, be aware of, plus the energy that got released when it first realized there is only itself. There is love. You, by definition, love anything that you see as yourself. By definition. It's only the things you dislike, that you don't want to be part of yourself, or what you perceive as other self, that you have to try to practice to love. But anything you truly believe is yours, you love automatically. Now, you may have a love-hate relationship with it conceptually, but instinctively, anything that you think is you, you love. There is a oneness with it. So even on a as above, so below, on a microcosmic, distorted human level, if we will, anything you feel is your possession, you love, you protect, you feel at one with. Anything you believe is you, you love, you protect, you want more of it, you want more for it, you want to defend it. Now, this is all within the realm of duality, but the same principle is effectively at play within your consciousness right now. Whatever you think of as you, you love. Whatever you think of as not you, if you're a good person, you try to love it, but it's easier said than done. Because you see it as not you. But this infinite original awareness realized there's this infinite potential, and all that could ever possibly be is me. The result, the emanation of that, the quantum reactor reaction that happened, the aura that was created, the metaphysical Big Bang that set the stage, that produced the essence of the God level for then everything else to be conceived out of, is all due to an awakeness to, or an awareness of, the indescribable, indisputable, inescapable oneness of it all. So how could you love and be loved as God loves? What would that require from you? It would require one of two ways. I'll discuss the two primary paths to this divine love. One is the diminishment of self into oblivion, meaning annihilate your idea of self altogether, become nothing. And the other path is expand your sense of self to become everything, to leave no stone unturned, to become all-inclusive. Now, there arises problems when you diminish yourself, but you don't take it all the way. Low self-esteem issues, false Buddhist kind of, I bow to everyone, I don't kill a single fly, but I'm still not enlightened and I won't ever be because I think too lowly of myself. If you're trying the path of self-annihilation and you fail, that's how you fail. If you try the path of self-expansion and you fail by having this inflated ego, this inflated arrogant distortion that still battles with its sense of reality. And it's like, well, why isn't everything just happening the way that I think it should happen? And so there are traps on both sides of this equation. And one trap isn't better than the other per se. The self-diminished one, the low self-esteem one, is not any better than the inflated ego one. If anything, the inflated ego one has more of a chance to be popped because it causes more chaos around it. It causes more reflection around it. Because who's going to reflect this nice little Buddhist guy who's never going to get enlightened anyway because he thinks too lowly of himself? No one's going to reflect him. He's nice. He can clean the hallways. He's so sweet. Oh, maybe we'll get him a Christmas bonus. But the guy who is arrogant, who has an inflated ego, who hasn't quite made it yet to I am everything, it's just like, oh, I am a lot of things, but there's some things I'm not. Therefore, I need to require. That guy, he'll get slapped in the face sooner or later by life, by karma, by other people. He'll get reflected. Nobody likes him. So if anything, maybe it's better to go that route. But either way, I think you get the point. If you want to be one with everything, you either have to be nothing or everything. And ultimately, these are the same things. Now, you don't have to, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you should embark upon a linear, gradual path where you slowly become more and more and more and more and more until you're everything. Or where you slowly like eliminate your ego until you become nothing. These can be realized simultaneously, perfected in each moment of naked awareness, of letting life be as it is, letting the energy of God of this moment be as it is. Therein you will realize the absolute completion of confidence and humility, of I'm everything and I am nothing, or all there is God. Because essentially what you want to arrive at through I am nothing is that therefore all there is God as it is, not as I think it is, not because there's a table in the hallway and I'm aware of this table in the hallway. What is a table in the hallway? No, those are concepts. When I say living life as it is, or suchness, what suchness truly means, it's not, well, this is a couch and it's present in the now. Oh, and my body's wearing this little outfit and that's what is now. That's not as it is. That's still in your mind. As it is empty of any articulation. As it is naked present acceptance. No argument, no opinion, no idea about anything. That's why this requires the greatest courage. The sages of this earth are the most courageous because they've sacrificed anything that could be identified as themselves. Everyone fights, oh, I don't want to lose my money. Well, how does that even compare? That's nothing. You can lose all your money. It doesn't compare to losing yourself. It's on a completely different bracket of existence, of courage and honor. If you love God hard enough, if you love God completely enough, you will rise above these petty fears that all pertain to this concept of I'm a little human being, this lump of flesh, and I need to survive, and this is me, and that's them. You don't want to live in that world, my friends, trust me. I mean, you don't even have to trust me. Look at your own life when you do. It sucks. It's a terrible place to be. It's not fun. It's far removed from the Garden of Eden. It's a sinful way of living. Sin simply means mistake. To commit a sin means to commit a mistake. Where does all mistaking begins? Mistaken identity, mistaken perception. If we can correct the mistaken perception of yourself, you will no longer sin, even if you're doing the same things you used to before, physically speaking, or almost the same things. You're not sinning. One person can do one thing and sin. Another person could do the same thing and not sin. It depends on the state that inspired the action. There is no hard rule book for this is bad and this is good. It's impossible. It doesn't work that way. Only humans think it works that way. One person could commit the same action that is frowned upon by an unenlightened society, but it could have been inspired by love. And it could be a sinless action. Whereas someone could be performing a holy action, greatly renowned and loved and appreciated by all of the people. But if it came from a distorted sense of self, it's a sinful act, no matter how good. So sin means to make a mistake. To sin means to be in mistaken perception. Correct your mistaken perception and you're free of sin and you're in the Garden of Eden. You don't eat from the apple of knowledge, right? You don't assume knowledge. You don't know anything. You remain innocent, naked awareness, and disconnect you to this God energy, aka what we call love. It's not love because love is a word, but what the word points to, that genuine underlying energy, which is the same in everything and everywhere and all the time and in all thoughts and all feelings and all emotions, that presence that is constant, unequivocally constant, equal, is God energy. It is love. And again, it's born out of the awareness that there cannot be anything but yourself, but itself. So you could either diminish, again, you can give up your sense of self Or you can expand your sense of self by saying, for instance, I am God. Now, don't do this on the streets, because although we're out of the medieval ages, there's still some remnants left of it, and you might still get burned on the stick, at the stake, although usually that will look like being socially canceled these days. Quite an upgrade for being burned alive, if you ask me, but we're still barbarians. So don't go around saying I am God. Or do. I mean, I'd be curious to see what happens.
Massaro University is a vibrant online community dedicated to accelerating your awakening and activating your purpose for the benefit of all. Join live sessions with Bentinho and workshops led by experienced facilitators. Deepen your wisdom, empowerment, and self-knowledge, and experience life-changing shifts week after week. At Massaro University, finding like-hearted seekers is easy and inevitable. Lifelong friendships and a shared purpose fuel profound personal and collective growth. Create your free account today at massaro.university and step into a community that's designed to elevate every aspect of your life.
But the point here is that if you do the expansion of self route, if you go the route of Aham Brahmasmi, or I am Brahman, I am God, I am everything, all there is God, and I am that, I am that, I am that. It's a great method. It's a very direct path, because you start declaring to yourself, and words have power, for sure, creative power. First there was the word. So whatever we say, it will become in our perception. So if you begin to proclaim to yourself, at least internally, I am God. Now, as long as you understand that God is everything, and therefore there is no room for vanity, and I'll explain this, because if you are everything, there is nothing that could be against you. There's nothing that could be judging you. Therefore, you can't be vain about anything. Vain requires partial possessiveness. I am this, or I have accomplished this, as opposed to that, or as opposed to that person who has not accomplished it, or as opposed to that portion of God which has not accomplished it and which will respect me for having accomplished this, or I have a fancy car and they don't, and so when I parade around the street, I feel like I'm more of God than they are. That's the distorted path. That's the inflated ego. So obviously that's not what I'm suggesting. I hope that is clear. But that can only happen if you don't get the method. Because if you're everything, if you are the fancy car, and you are the insecurity that made you want that fancy car, and you are the people that will see you driving around in that fancy car, if you are them, they are then no longer other people in your heart and mind. And if you are their shitty car, you are their shitty situation, you are their impoverished situation, and you are your rich situation. Let's say that's the situation. If you are all these things, and you're the air that you're breathing, and you're the rays of sun that enable this planet to even like rotate and grow life to begin with, and you're the essence of all of it, if you truly say, I am everything, I am God, there is no room for arrogance. There is no room for insecurity. There is no room for doubt. There is no room there for separation. Therefore, there is no room for pride or inflated ego. Or you could say your ego has inflated to such a degree that it's become one with God's ego, which is the biggest ego anywhere. It's literally the sense of I am that arises out of an awareness of infinite oneness. So God is the ultimate bastard. God is the ultimate arrogant son of a... It's the ultimate inflated ego, because it literally knows it is the only thing in all of existence, and out of that arises all that could ever possibly be. I mean, that's a pretty strong statement to make to oneself. So God is not by any means humble. However, we don't want partial confidence. We want holistic confidence. So if you go the path of I am everything, I am that person, I am this person, I am that, don't just do it like, oh, I am God, and therefore I can create whatever I want. For whom? Is there still myself in there? I thought you just said you were God. So make up your mind. Are you yourself that is God, Or are you God, and therefore yourself is God, and there's no self left to be one with God? You get this? Otherwise, there is this remnant of duality. You say I am God, but you're saying it from the sense of I'm a human being. Now you get this inflated ego. So if you go the route of I am God, it's very powerful. Don't get me wrong. It's very purifying if you do it right, but you got to do it right. You can't just do this out of a fake idea, out of vanity. It's got to be a wholehearted self-sacrifice. You know, some of the old religions where they sacrifice themselves and stuff in some way, shape, or form, there's an essence of truth to that, but they've taken it literally and physically. So you don't want to do that, obviously. But the essence of that message makes sense. To repent, to sacrifice your sense of self, your idea of self, to give it up to God. Thy will is my will. It's a very powerful practice to the consciousness of the peak of a tablecloth, which is God. So God, in curiosity of itself, develops a sense of self, and now it realizes once again, hey, wait a second, I'm all of it. So that's the path of everything. Now, the path of nothing goes something like this. Basically, ideally, you want to stay as nothing in your consciousness. You want to stay as nothing. Don't assume any position. Don't assume anything, not even a sense of location. Quite a direct path. There is less direct paths that I will also get into a little bit. But the most direct path would be to stay as nothing. I am nothing. And to let all the fears and all the opinions about that and all the resistance against that just drop away, give it up, sacrifice it to God. It's the sacrificial route. Very powerful, very purifying as well, very beautiful, if done completely. Anything you do partially is going to create a lot of traps. Okay, so you want when you do this, you want to do it for the right reasons. You want to do it holistically. Give yourself up completely. Not just so that you'll feel better for the next 10 minutes so you can continue to hate that person again that makes you suffer, and then you have to go back into your meditation. That is a partial desire. Oh, I feel so bad. Oh, this person, I don't like them. Why are they doing this to me? Okay, I can't handle it anymore. Let me just remember I am nothing. Then you feel good again and you get cocky again. That's partial nothingness. Oh yeah, I've realized that I'm nothing, but that person is still a bitch, and because I'm nothing, now I can hate even more. This is partial practice. We can't do this. This is fake love for God. Our love for Source has got to be whole and genuine. And if it's not, don't judge yourself. A good start is to not judge. But also don't be fooled by yourself. Don't cause unnecessary chaos and suffering. Okay? If you're not there yet, if you're not at the space where you can say, I love God more than I love my idea of self. I'm ready to let go of my idea of self because I know there is Source. I know there is a higher energy that encompasses everything. If you're ready to surrender to that, it's gorgeous, and whichever path you take, you don't even have to take a path. If your desire is pure and true enough, it will just happen for you. You will just intuitively know what is the direct path for you. All these descriptions will fail you. They don't matter. If the desire is pure enough, God's right there. It, he, she, whatever you want to call it, is always right there. But you're not listening because you don't care enough, because you care a lot about other things, because you've identified with a partial human being that wants this and that and needs the safety of this and that, and there is others, therefore I need to protect myself. And then out of that state, I need to sort of develop some love and compassion. So I turn to Christianity or Buddhism or whatever, service to others. And now I try to kind of manage the service to others thing and this loving thing, and which is great, don't get me wrong. I know I'm being facetious, but that's because it's not the ultimate path. It's not the highest result. And some of you are ready to go beyond that. If you're not, that's great. Don't take this as a judgment. The path of the act of loving is very important for humanity right now. To practice the act of loving. But ultimately, I would like you all to realize love itself. When you do, service to others is automatic. It's no longer an action. It's no longer a consideration. It's no longer a sacrifice of self. When you see the oneness of it all, service to others becomes automatic. You effectively become what people term as saintly. You become naturally, automatically saintly. Why? Because it's automatic. It's no longer by choice. When you see clearly enough that everything is you, that everything is one, your service to others is automatic. It's a given. It's intrinsic. It's guaranteed. This is possible for you. The effortless service to others love state. This is possible for you. All of you, without exception. But who wants this, huh? Certainly not a partial self. The irony is that only gods want this. Only God wants this. No human wants this. That's why you gotta see through the fallacy. You're not a human. So it's the God in you that wants the God in you. There's nothing else in you that wants God. Hence, suffering is you getting ironed out of the equation, your concept of self getting ironed out of the equation, getting disappointed over and over and over again. Like a shaving off process. More and more of you gets eroded until there's nothing left but God wanting God and God realizing God and God seeing God. Now, this will be your liberation. You will experience it as profound joy and happiness, bliss, as they say. But it won't be the same you see? The you that you think you are now doesn't want any of this. Now, if you say, well, I object to that, Bentinho, because I do feel that I resonate with what you just shared, and I do feel a strong desire for this, I would absolutely agree to that. But I'm saying that's the God in you. So congratulations. The closer you get to God, the more you want God, because the more you will be God, and only God wants God. So the parts of you that don't want God, that aren't ready for the sacrifice, that aren't ready for the expansion into everything, that want to continue to see that pesky neighbor as an outsider, and wants to continue that warfare and that righteousness and that knowledge, that battle of knowledge. I know what you did. I know what I am. I know what I deserve. The part of you that wants to play that pesky game is not born of God. It's not yet the man of God. But you are all, to one degree or another, a man of God, a child of God. To become a full man of God or a woman of God, I kind of mean either with that term. Man, the man becoming a man of God, becoming a woman of God. It requires you to let go of what you are not, to see through what you are not. And the more you do this, the more you become a man of God. And as a man of God, you want God. But as a man of man, you don't want God. You resist it with every fiber of your being. So you can analyze this equation within your system right now. How much of me truly is elevated by this talk and wants to spread its arms open wide, open its rib cage, just saw it in half with a fucking saw, just open that rib cage, like let my heart explode into smithereens. Let me, metaphorically speaking, destroy myself, kill myself, give all of myself to the fact that only God is. Now, whom of you have nothing that they are hesitant about letting go like that? It's like, well, yeah, that sounds great in one way, but I still have my, my tax return is almost here. I'm going to get some money back. Or my house is almost upgraded and then I can sell it and then I'll get some money here and there and I can travel the world and then I can follow these teachings. Well, I just asked you to follow it now. Why first wait for your tax return and then so you can sell the house, upgrade it, sell the house, then you can travel, come see me, and then you can do it. Who is that? Who is that person? This concept of yourself, this idea, this construct, this fake, non-existent sense of self. It's completely fictional, imagined, optional, irrelevant idea of me or you. Who is this destroyer of your life force? The obscurer of love, Why the fuck is he here? Ask yourself. Because he's destroying your life as we speak in no insignificant ways. What the heck is even love really? And why the heck are you not there? What could possibly be more worthwhile than an awareness of infinite unity leading in an blissful explosion of what we call love that leads to automatic service to others? And it guarantees the happiness of the channeler, the happiness of the vessel that you think you are. It will expand you to divine levels. You become a man or a woman of God. What could possibly be more worthwhile than that? Is it really that tax money that comes back to you in a few months? Is it really that house you need to upgrade and then sell and then travel and then go sit with a teacher? Or are you just avoiding the simple equation that all there is and ever has been is God's nature, and that that's what you are? You are nothing in addition to it. You are not a person on top of it. Your personhood never existed. There is no human love. And in oneness, there is no relationship, because that requires two. The end of all relationship is love. It's also the purpose of relationship, to begin with, to end all relationship. That's why you are magnetized to the opposite polarity, hence the physics of polarity, plus and minus, the proton and the electron. They seek each other out, they orbit each other, they support each other, all out of this powerful magnetic gravitational pull from the Creator, wanting all of its particles to come back home into itself, to realize its true nature, its reality, this blissful oneness. That's the purpose of the illusion of relationships. This is why there is magnetism. It's all to lead both of the beings back into the realization of the unity of the tablecloth, the oneness of the water of God. That's why you're magnetized to anything to begin with. So what could possibly be more important than that? Give exact reasons. This is a real question, you see. This is not a hypothetical question. This is a real question. What is more important than unconditional love, than the bliss of oneness, than the truth of your Creator living in you as you, seeing beyond the matrix, beyond the veil, beyond the delusions and distortions, freeing yourself from suffering, accessing bliss, happiness, radiance, true automatic love? My question is literal. Write it down in your journal, your notebook, after this session. What is more important or valuable than that? And why? And to whom? And you will see it's not to God that it's more important. It's to this imagined, fictitious, optional, distorted, tweaked out of its head sense of self that all follows your ideas. Then, after you write all that nonsense down, all that nonsense that you've called yourself and what's important to my life, and you've got it on paper and you see it for the ridiculous, silly, distorted, sinful, imaginal world that it is, you become more ready to become a man or woman of God. Love starts flooding your veins. And you cannot help but not care about that stuff anymore. You cannot help but be driven by a confidence that transcends human constructs. You'll begin to flow like the waters of the ocean of God, and you will accelerate your journey towards that ocean. And even realize that water is already water, even in the form of this river. Liberation. Then, you pause your thoughts for a few seconds at a time. And you realize there's nobody really here to want this or that, or this or that, or this or that. Who am I really in this present naked awareness? Can I just abide in there? Can I just abide in naked awareness? The basis of mind which never appears, yet it's always here as the background to everything that does seem to appear. But the mind itself, the basis, the intelligence, the sentience, your I amness never appears, does it? But it's undeniably here to everything. Why not abide in that? Get to know love in that stability of self and surrender to that stability of that greater self and know love directly. Now, God will love through you, and He will love everyone that you meet, even your enemies. Doesn't mean you wouldn't like to kick them in the nuts every once in a while. Doesn't mean they're not still as annoying as ever before, even more so because you see how wicked and delusional they are being. But at the same time, because you can see that, you're also seeing into the compassion, the unity of it all beyond it. And you don't really want to cause them harm. You start to love even your enemies, even those who oppose you. Why? Don't do this as a Buddhist, meaning don't do this as a well-behaved separate person that follows the path of kindness. Don't limit yourself to that. It's a great path, don't get me wrong. It's better than 99% of the paths out there, but it's not good enough. The kindness, none-like path, it's not good enough. You will never get enlightened in your lifetime doing that. I promise you that. I swear it on my life. You will not get enlightened by just being nice and kind according to a conceptual path of kindness, whether it's Christian kindness, Buddhist kindness, Hindu kindness, Western kindness, doesn't matter. It's not good enough. It lacks power. God is all-powerful. You need to learn to balance love with power. You can't just have love with this like flat kind of doormat kind of, I'm so nice and everyone deserves my compassion, so I'm going to be compassionate. Can't do that. You got to be a whole system, a whole being. You got to be powerful. You got to overflow like a fountain, like God's radiant beacon. Okay? Can't do that by following a path of principles. Again, it's the best that could happen to humanity at large, but for you guys, potential shepherds of humanity in its transformational age, it's not good enough. It won't get you deep enough. It won't penetrate deep down enough into that earth to where it hits the well that you're seeking. So take your paths with a grain of salt, your spiritual paths, because as long as it's a path, it's not direct enough. You want a realization. You want to transcend yourself. Not this, don't want to stay the self. That's all nice. You can form this self over the years and become such a nice person. You can become such a perfect Christian or Buddhist as an external personality. And to a degree, that will be how you will feel about yourself internally as well. But even that realm of internal, that self-concept is not internal. To the real self, that's still external. It's still for show. It's still service level. What's truly internal, the kernel of the center of the coconut, is what's already looking out of your eyes right now. Needs no explanation. It is naked awareness. It is intelligent awareness. It's hearing my voice as we speak without effort on your part. That is your natural state. It's the basis of mind which never appears to you, but within which everything appears. Stay naked and empty and no thing. Stay as the non-arising basis of mind. Abide in that emptiness. Stop thinking for 2 to 5 seconds repeatedly, and it will become more and more natural, more and more blissful, more and more clarifying, radiating, elevating, liberating. Aim higher. Don't aim for a path. Don't aim to be a good Christian. Don't aim to be a good Buddhist. Don't aim to be a good practitioner. Aim to be freaking enlightened. Aim to be freaking enlightened. Aim for no less. Because only enlightenment is the truth. Everything else is your false personality, glorifying pathways and spirituality, still saying this is better than that. Because otherwise, why would you go on a path? God doesn't say this is better than that. If you are identified as someone who's on a spiritual path, you're just as far away from God as the one who's, the trailer trash, that's talking trash about everyone and judging and watching the news and CNN and eating pizza and burgers all day. Burgers are good for you, by the way, without the buns and everything on it. But pizza, maybe not so much. Anyway, you get the point. If you're on a path, you're judging. You're sinning as we speak. If you are thinking of yourself as, oh, I'm this lovely person. I'm such a great person on a path, and I'm doing my work, and I'm being spiritual and Buddhist or Hindu or whatever, and I'm being compassionate and kind, you're full of shit. You're full of yourself in the partial sense, not in the whole sense. You're not seeing yourself as all paths because you're seeing yourself as Buddhist, or you're seeing yourself as Christian, or you're seeing yourself as whatever. That's partial wholeness. That's inflated ego. That's sinful perception. That's a mistaken identity. Don't do that. Aim for enlightenment, not to be this or that person. And why wouldn't you? Because it is love. It is liberation. It is your birthright. It is what you seek even when you don't know that's what you're seeking. It's what you seek when you want a cup of coffee. It's what you seek when you want richness. It's what you seek when you want that partnership. You're deluded. Don't be deluded. Aim higher. Aim for God. Aim to know God so fully that you become a man or woman of God. Truly, humbly, powerfully. Why not? I've just laid it out for you on a little silver platter. All my teachings lay it out for you on a silver little platter, step by step, analysis by analysis from direct experience and all the paths combined. And I say consistently to you, and I say it again with all the passion and love in my godly heart, enlightenment is for everyone. It's for you. It's possible for you. So why not? Love your ass off. Forget yourself. Remember God only. Become immersed in divinity. Lose your mind. Trust in the intelligence that hears my voice. You don't need a mind for that. That is the non-appearing basis of consciousness. The non-appearing nature of being. That's the non-appearing, ever-present substratum of God. And in that you will unleash the vibration of love, especially when you realize that there's nothing out there that's not made of yourself. When you drop your boundaries, when you merge with the rest of the sky. Aim for the highest. Drop your paths. Recognize God directly. Say hi to God directly in your meditations. Don't first follow a path and then hopefully I get to say hi to God. You are God. Say hi to yourself. And that's literally what it feels like when you're in a genuine moment of awakening or meditation, even if it's just a subtle, gentle little moment, nothing special, no big bada boom aliens beaming light down your third eye. No, just a simple, beautiful, pure, naked moment of awareness, recognizing that it exists, that it is unified awareness. And it feels like suddenly you're saying hi to yourself. You're like, wait a second, where have I been all these months? I forgot I'm even here. But this is me. I know. I remember. Hi. How you doing? It's good to meet you again, to feel you again. Oh my God, I was deluded for months. I forgot about this for months. Hi. So good to feel you, to see you, to be with you, to be you. This is all there really is. I know that now. I remember. I see again. And then try not to be loving. They'll be the impossible. The only impossible thing in the universe is to be awake and not automatically love. Now, it can express itself in many different ways. You see that in myself. Been accused of many things, most of which are just plainly false. But some of which is because people are intimidated by me. I just used a bunch of cuss words. I'm about to smoke my cigar. I dress like this, and then I dress with a tank top, and then I use rude words. I make silly, stupid jokes. I'm far removed from the image of a perfect teacher. Deliberately so. And or accidentally, I don't care. And it's not about me, this example, because there is no really me. But this is a testament, my expression, because I am a man of God. And so are you, ultimately. That's what I'm trying to get across. Because I am a man of God, my expressions are guided by something other than my mind. And everything I do is filled with purpose, yet without giving it any significance as a personality, feeling all significant about what it's doing on this earth. There's no sense of that pride because there's no sense of partial possessiveness. I don't possess this body more than I possess yours. I don't possess my house more than I possess your house. If you recognize the nature of God, you are automatically in a state of service to others and you are loving and guided. This is what I call a mirror state. You become a mirror being, a man of God. Then, I promise you, in most of your cases, and some of you will attain this, depends on you, all of you can attain this if you wanted to. If you trust it, if you devote yourself, if you surrender to this, if you trust it completely, if you give all of yourself to what I've just said, then this is for you. If you're not quite there yet, that's okay. But those of you who will attain this in this lifetime will become a man or a woman of God, at least to a sufficient degree where you could loosely observe objectively without personal significance that is indeed simply factually the case. As a fact, not as an arrogant, self-attributed idea, as an observational fact. I am more a man of God than I am a man of my own mind or interests. That's a factual observation you could make one day, given enough self-sacrifice, enough surrender, enough erosion of the illusion of self. And then you cannot not love. And then it might express itself as smoking cigars. It might express itself as cuss words. It might express itself as dirty little jokes at inappropriate moments, especially at inappropriate moments. Because otherwise, what would their purposefulness be? There's no fun in dirty little jokes, unless they're inappropriate. So you see, you become inappropriate. And the Buddhist shall never become inappropriate. They can't. They're limited. They're in a little box of self-identity. The Christian, they can never be inappropriate. They can never free flow. Intelligence can never flow through them. No matter how nice they are, it's made of their selves. It's not made of God. If you want to be made of God, you got to let loose. You got to unleash these restrictions. In good timing, gradually, first you need to sacrifice your sense of self. Because you have parameters in place for good reason, because you are this fictitious sense of self. Who knows what it's going to do? It's not guided by God yet. But once you are guided by God, then who is there to object with the inappropriate joke that conveys the perfect trigger or message that that person needs in that setting? There will be no Buddhist inside of you to object to that inappropriate joke. You'll be fearless, and you'll be hated, and you'll still be in a state of love. That is love. It's unconditional. So how does unconditional love express itself? Through a man or woman of God, in an endless variety of ways that are unscripted. You see, your lives, for the most part, are scripted. If I observe you for a while, I could predict exactly what you're going to do, what you're going to say, how you're going to react, which is part of what makes it so easy for me to make inappropriate jokes, because I know exactly which ones you find inappropriate at what timing. So this intelligence that you see speaking here, there's nothing in this. Try to get that. I'm not your neighbor. I'm not your teacher. I'm not your friend. Well, I'm your friend in a sense, but I'm not your son. I'm not your father. I'm not your lover. I'm not your idol. I'm not even in here. You've never seen me. You don't know what I look like. Because this ain't it. I can tell you that. I'm not a Buddhist. I'm not a spiritual teacher. I'm not an activist. And neither are you. So if love is not unpredictable, and I don't mean this in a dramatic sense, like, oh, I shouted at my husband again for no good reason, or my wife. Oh, that must just be God because it was spontaneous. Don't take any of this as a cop out for your sins. Okay? All I'm saying is that when you're genuinely surrendered to God and you become more a man of God than you become a man of men, and that your thoughts are made of God, they're not made of your manlyhood or womanlyhood. When your thoughts are no longer man-made, when your desires are no longer made of men, made of the stuff of men, they're made of the stuff of God, divinity, service to others, love, oneness. You'll be unscripted. If you're not unscripted, you're still holding on, you're clinging to a personal self. There, you will never know love, you will never be loved, you will never feel loved. That is hell. You are hell. Your attachment to yourself is hell. Loosen up. You won't ever die. You cannot ever cease to exist. Ever, 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 ever. Not even after ever, ever. Not even when the whole universe ends. Because I've been there and I've been beyond that. And I can tell you, from across the ocean of time and space, you shall never, ever cease to be. Promise. So why be afraid to lose yourself? You can only lose what you are not. That which can die was never real to begin with, was never you to begin with. You are love. You are God. It is natural. It is automatic. It is all-encompassing. It is evenly distributed all the time. Sometimes it's distributed as fighting, as punishment, and sometimes it's distributed as kindness and infinite patience. But love is love, and it is even throughout all these different distributions and expressions. You cannot claim this as a person, but when you give up the person and you become a man or woman of God, you won't have to claim this. It'll just be your factual experience without arrogance. It'll be humbly, confidently, clearly and naturally the case for you. Aim high. Thank you for listening to this sermon. I love you. In case that wasn't obvious. I loves I. You loves you. And now I'm gonna light my cigar. Whether you like it or not, I still love you. I love the cigar. Cigar loves you too. Even if you hate cigars. Even the smoke loves you. Even if you hate smoke. And I'll be looking for your questions. But remember briefly the essence, the actual structural essence of what love is. It's the infinite one, aware of its singleness. That awareness of oneness, this plus that equals love. Awareness, or you could say oneness plus awareness of this oneness equals love. So if you are aware of the oneness of things, what will emerge from you is love, true love. And then that expresses itself through the human form into other human forms. And so you could call that the expression or activity of loving. But this will be natural, and you will know that it's not coming from the human. It's only God recognizing itself. The only love that exists is love. There is no second type of love.
Thank you for watching this Bentinho live session. Bentinho now hosts these transformative live sessions completely free, offering profound insights and guidance to support your journey. To attend the next live session with Bentinho, simply visit massaro.university and follow the instructions to create your free account.